Did I know what was happening to me during menopause? No, not a clue. And I think I know now that I'm not alone. There's so many women that don't know. So I'm Natalie, I'm 52 years old. I was in the police for 30 years and I have just recently retired. I was frequently confused and muddled and anxious and just really scared that I was losing my mind. I genuinely feared I was getting dementia, and I had no idea because nobody around me was speaking about this thing called menopause or how it was impacting them, and I couldn't see it impacting on anybody else, but it was starting to creep into every aspect of my life at home and at work. Okay, so what were the symptoms? Well, where do I start? So there were some of the really, what I call the big hitters. There were the big physical issues. So there was this fear of dementia. You know, I would get to work on occasion and I wouldn't know why I was there. I suffered really badly from flooding. So and we all know that it never happens in the comfort of your own home. It happens in public, it happens at work, it happens in the shops. And I flooded really heavily, and that was one of the things that caused me the most fear. I had really severe joint pain, my elbows and my knees, the pain, and it would come from not doing anything. So just sitting would cause me pain in my knees and my elbows. And I thought that was from years of running. Then I would get, so my fingers would tingle, my legs would tremor at night. I got a boiling mouth. I would drink cold water and it would feel like it had hit boiling point in my mouth. And my skin would crawl, like really painfully. My neck and my shoulders, my skin would just crawl across my back. And that was really painful and really uncomfortable. My nails flaked, my hair went fuzzy, my teeth ached, my gums were sore. And I started suffering from anxiety. I'd be really uncomfortable about doing things that I maybe hadn't done before. Mood swings, so rage. I'd never experienced rage, but I had proper, like irrational rage. The night sweats were awful and so embarrassing. It really just seeped into every aspect of my life. My migraines just increased. I would get migraines almost daily. Instead of just getting them in one eye, which was the pattern, I would get them in both eyes and they would become crippling. I suffered with terrible insomnia. I would often sleep for no more than 2 hours a day or night. And at this time I was doing 24-hour shift work, and I would frequently go in on a night shift having had just 2 hours sleep. And so the insomnia meant that everything else was really difficult to deal with as well. So how did I manage it? I think it's probably fair to say I didn't. I'd always been a runner, and I assumed that finally my knees were saying enough. So I went to the GP to see about my knee pain, and I was sent for x-rays and MRI scans, and when they called me in, they said, there's nothing wrong with your knees. No sort of, so let's try and see what else it might be. I was sent away with a kind of, there's nothing wrong with your knees, go away. I went to the GP about the flooding, and I was really scared about this. I was really scared. I thought there was something really seriously wrong with me. I was sent for probably every test and scan you can think of, and I ended up in front of a gynecologist. I thought, this will be it. This will be the answer. This is where we're going to find the solution. This is where they're going to tell me something's really badly wrong with me. First off, he said to me, so the first thing we need to establish is whether you want children. And I remember saying to him at that point, do you know how old I am? And then he said, well, if you don't want children, then you should have a hysterectomy. It felt that the choice was either flood, bleed heavily, be really scared that you're not well, or have a hysterectomy and get rid of all of it. I knew at that point that didn't seem right. It just didn't seem correct that the only solution to this problem was for me to have surgery. It just didn't feel right. It became harder for me to survive, and that's what I'd been doing. I was living in this cycle of finding all the adrenaline I could to get me through the day at work. And it was impacting at home. During this time, my marriage failed. And I was completely broken. And I ended up going to speak to my boss. It was really supportive. My boss was really supportive. He knew nothing about the menopause. Well, neither did I. But they, of course, made me go back to the GP. And this time, for the first time, I saw a different GP, a different one to the one that I'd been to about the joint pain or the flooding. I saw a different GP. And because by this point, I was getting the hot flushes and the night sweats, it was like until that point, all that stuff had been irrelevant. But as soon as the night sweats and the hot flushes came in, she said, it sounds like you might be possibly starting the menopause. And it was the first time anyone had used that word. It was the first time anyone had said, this is the menopause. And because in my mind until that point, the menopause happened to old ladies. Because if you Googled it, which is what I did immediately, I researched everything I could. All the pictures were white-haired ladies sat around a table drinking tea, looking like they were in an old people's home. And that's what I thought the menopause was. It was old ladies. It never occurred to me that it happened to young, vibrant women. Not at all. Okay, so how did I take control of the menopause? Well, I downloaded an app on my phone that had been recommended to me, and I started logging my symptoms on that. And each day it would say to me, what time did you go to bed? What time did you wake up? What time did you eat? And it was almost like a light bulb moment where I was, oh, this is telling me I need routine. This is telling me I need to have some consistency. Well, I've done 24-hour shifts pretty much my whole police service. So for almost 30 years, I've been doing 24-hour shift work. So there's no pattern, there's no rhyme or reason to, when I sleep, when I eat. And this suddenly seemed really important to me. So I need to come off shift work. I need some routine. Just getting some routine enabled me to see some of the things that my menopause symptoms were doing to me and see some kind of pattern. I knew then that if I was tired, my cognitive function was affected. And, there were some days where I couldn't even make a cup of coffee. I would see the cup and I'd see the pot and I'd see the coffee and I couldn't put the three things together. And that used to scare me. That used to make me think, I'm going mad, I'm getting dementia. As soon as I recognized these are menopause symptoms, these are how they impact on me, and it's okay. It's just okay. This is who I am now. Then I knew that I could then adapt around them. And that was the most empowering thing. So what I discovered at work was not only did I not know what these things were or know anything about menopause, neither did anyone around me. And I had this ingrained fear that if I spoke out, I'd be letting all the trailblazing women around me down by talking about this thing that had impacted me. And so it kept me quiet for a long time and probably, delayed me getting the help that I needed. And I went to see our chief constable, so the most senior officer in our force. He was a man. And I got an audience with him and his management team, and I told them everything I'd experienced. He brilliantly believed in me instantly and said, go away and find out the scale of the issue or the lack of knowledge that there is in our organisation, and let's make it better. So that's what I did. I set up a menopause action group. But when I did speak out about it, it was like the floodgates opened. Women all over the organisation wanted to talk to me, wanted to share their stories, wanted to tell me how it impacted them. And that felt like a real opportunity to make sure that no other woman that would transition through this after me would ever experience what I did, would ever feel like they had to hide it, would ever feel that they had to struggle. I think making it right at work, doing something for others, I think doing it in the name of someone else almost gives you that power, that courage to stand up in the name of others. That was really empowering. Now I talk to everyone and anyone. And my partner, Rob, talks to everyone. He talks to his friends. They all talk menopause all the time. And that's the most empowering, to be able to say, this is okay. It's just we're a generation currently that nobody talked about it before us. So we need to talk about it.